In this video, we're going to talk about the front panel of the RTM3000. And the first thing that I'll start with is you can kind of see the overview of the front panel itself here. A couple things that I'll focus on. One of the first ones is here underneath this action area. So because it has a touchscreen, of course, you can turn the touchscreen off if you don't want to use that. Probably one of the most important buttons is this preset button. Preset basically takes the oscilloscope back to a known good point. And so, if somebody else has been using it, this can be a good setup or a good button to know. It's sometimes called default setup. Autoset would be the next one. Autoset's going to try to find and position the waveforms on the display to the best of its ability. And so it goes through and does different measurements and then tries to put them on the screen. In general, it does a pretty good job, but I'd recommend, looking at it and making sure that what you see makes sense. The next thing that I would talk about is the vertical controls. And so we used what are called muxed vertical controls. That means that we have one set of knobs for each of the individual analog channels. And so if I turn on the first analog channel, what you'll see is it shows up as yellow. You'll notice that the control knobs themselves indicate yellow around them as well. And that means that we're now controlling channel 1. On this one, so this is going to be your position or offset. You can actually choose what you want it to be. It will move the signal up and down on the display. If you push it, it will zero the signal. And then this is your vertical scale. So it's going to change the volt per division setting. Clearly, you can go through. One of the things that I typically recommend is you want to scale it where it is going to be covering as much of the display as possible without clipping. So you can see right now we're clipping the waveform. So we'll dial it back a little bit and get it where it's on the majority of the waveform itself. You can also push this for a vernier mode or a fine mode. Here's the acquisition settings. So this is your horizontal control. And so this changes your time base. This is your position control, which will add delay to the signal and move it left to right on the screen. Again, each of these are pushable. On the position, if you push it, it will push in center at the trigger point. On the scale, it'll go into a fine or a coarse mode. This is your zoom, your horizontal controls, your acquisition controls. This is where you would change your different acquisition setups, whether it's something if you wanted to go to averaging or high res, that type of thing. This is your trigger setup. So this is where you would set your triggers. The trigger source is also a colored LED. And so depending on what channel you're using, it will update to show the actual channel that you're triggering on. Of course, you have your run and stop, your single capability. Then inside of the display itself. So a couple key things, everything inside of the display for the most part is touchable. For example, if I come down to where it says at 50 millivolts per division and I click on that, you'll see that you can change your input settings. You can go into the probe menu. You can change whether you're coupled, AC coupled or DC coupled, those types of setups.